I'm often asked, is Dexter Moscow my real name or a stage name? It's a name that people don't forget. It sounds like it is a theatrical name, and actually I always had that aspiration of being either in the theatre or on television. And for many years I was on television. I worked for QVC, the shopping channel. My career actually started many, many years ago in advertising. I worked for one of the first American agencies that came over here. It's when I first started realizing the power of words, that it isn't about selling, it's about influencing and persuading. And from advertising, unfortunately, I was made redundant. And then I went into business with my brother and built a multi-office estate practice. But I hated that. And I eventually, after I opened my own office and realized that I didn't want to do that, then the opportunity for QVC came along. And there I was sent to America to understand how they sell in a televisual situation in the States. I brought it back and said how they train guest presenters there is not going to work here because people do not like being sold to. And actually that's how my career is extended to where I am today, helping people to present themselves on Zoom. And hands up to this, I am very process driven. So I have one particular idea, if I may impart this to you, and that is called the 4 cornerstones of an effective presentation. And those cornerstones are this, that what is my right, what is my personal credibility to be able to talk on the topic that I'm going to talk on. So think about that your own personal credibility. Then the second element of those 4 cornerstones is company credibility. Who have I worked with? Think about your career prior to what you're doing now. Third element is facts. What are the facts that you can tell? 3 or 4 facts about your job, your occupation, your talents, if you like. Because there is another formula which talks about people buy emotionally, they decide logically. And it is actually the 4th element of the 4 cornerstones, is what's in it for me, meaning what's in it for them. And that's the emotional part. Because, and this is another thing I would absolutely advise you to think about, people buy people first, and they want to trust you as an individual. One of the reasons I wrote Stand Up and Sell was to help me stand above the competition. Because, you know, you can talk about it, but when you have a book, and this may take people outside their comfort zone, and there are ways, in fact, that people will help you write your own book. But the reason that I did it was because it's almost like an authentic business card. It shows your talent, tells your stories, and that's what Stand Up and Sell is about. It's not about a whole list of things and frameworks that you have to use. That's included in the book, but it is about the stories that we can tell. My second book, A Voyage Without My Father, is a book that I have wanted to write for years. And it's linked to a great extent to positive intelligence. A Voyage Without My Father illustrates how, at the age of 10, my dad died. He was only 45. And it was in an age, you can see by my grey hair, this is some time ago, where kids were not allowed to go into hospital wards. And so, to my lifelong regret, I never was able to say goodbye to my dad. Now, what that happened for me was that it set up a situation of lifelong regret that affected me and came to a crisis when I was in my 40s, which coincidentally, or perhaps not, was when my dad died at that age. And what I started, because I went through a panic situation, I went through a process of self-discovery. And part of that was to go into psychotherapy, where at the end of 18 months, I came to the realization through my therapist that I was angry at my father for dying. So what do you do with that? Where do you take that? And so that started this voyage of discovery, the voyage without my father, of what are the therapies out there that would be meaningful to me. And one of those therapies was Gestalt therapy. So there are three elements that I have encapsulated into an acronym, and that's MIC. The M is meditation. The I is imagination. And the C is communication. So what do I mean by that in terms of Gestalt therapy? Well, Gestalt therapy allows us to think that we have two chairs, and in one chair we are sitting, and in the other chair is the person that we're speaking to. So in my meditative state, I imagined that I was walking through to the hospital bed where my father was. And the conversation was like this. I was angry. I told him, how could you leave me? He apologized to me. He explained about his illness. I don't know really at this point what the conversation was about. All I know is that we cried, we sobbed, in my imagination, we cuddled. And so that was the motivation for writing this book, to give that experience to others, to help them from grief to growth to gratitude. My recommendation is to keep the conversation going. Use meditation, use your imagination, and communicate with those that have passed. Because the reality is this: those that have gone will never truly go as long as they live in your hearts.